You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Real Short Box, brothers and sisters of comic book land. My name is Dr. Kevin, the Doctor of Comics and Pop Culture, and with me are my co-conspirators. To my left, he is the Irish Whip, the Bruce Campbell Soup Lover, the North Hollywood Plower. Oh, excuse me, the North Hollywood Prowler.
What's the difference?
A little, yeah, it's true. A little, what's that word you call? A little word there. I shouldn't have said that, but it's okay. The Prowler.
It's all right.
He is the one and only, the second Donald. And in front of me, the beast of the Buckeye State, the Michigan Wolverine massager, the latest member of the Gambino crime family. He is also known as Darren.
Thank you for that introduction, Kevin. And for this episode, I will not confirm or deny that we will be having a discussion about the greatness of the Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes.
Motherfucker.
You know, that's a little inappropriate, sir. You know how sensitive he is. Anytime you bring up that name, literally, he becomes...
You know, when they announced that movie idea, I hit the roof.
Oh, I know you did.
I hit the roof.
I know you did. And
I was screaming. You probably heard me.
I could probably hear you screaming from 30 miles away when they announced that.
I mean, let's be real here. Donald, what is your problem with Jaime Reyes?
He's racist. That's what his problem is.
The Blue Power Ranger? Or Beetleborg?
He doesn't want Latinos getting work in Hollywood.
Total bullshit.
On superhero
Total
films.
bullshit.
That's what your problem is.
Nope. I like Vibe. I'm fine with that. It's just this guy. I don't believe in killing off characters in order to create new characters. I never have. Not a fan of it.
Well, so I was going to ask you guys, we are clearly doing the top 10 DC superheroes.
Yes.
Now, in your opinion, what do you think is the difference between DC superheroes and Marvel superheroes?
Generally speaking, because there are a few exceptions, DC heroes tend to be godlike beings, godlike powers, and Marvel heroes tend to kind of develop those powers from an experiment or an accident.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, again, there are exceptions.
I'm going to also add to it that when I was growing up, I preferred DC over Marvel because there was I was learning to read, to become a better person when it came to books and reading and stuff. So my parents were okay with me reading comics. I preferred DC because there was less exposition. There was less, and then he walked into the room, and then he decided, and he had a thought, and then he, you know what I mean? Marvel did a lot of that. They would have these boxes. And
I enjoyed that.
Filled with dialogue.
That's why I like Marvel so much. I enjoy that.
Description, exposition.
I enjoy that.
Yeah,
exposition.
It was just too much for me.
That
so
wasn't much. Well, couldn't get enough.
When I was younger, I just preferred to see the action, and then when they would talk, and that would be it. I wanted to see what they were doing. I didn't want to hear about what they were doing.
It's all about the details, people.
See, and Kevin, you must love Sin City because those thoughts were voiceovers in the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you, speaking of vibe, there's definitely a different vibe in DC Comics than Marvel Comics. Like, I find Marvel Comics to be a lot more colorful, lots of reds, rich blues, stuff like that. But DC Comics, it seems a little more muted in their tones.
They brought the purple. The purples and the pinks. Yeah, that was totally DC. DC did that.
I agree.
Demon, Zatanna, all those types of stories and books. There was a lot of purples and pinks. Superboy, Superman, you would see that all the time.
Obviously, the Joker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think not so much
Catwoman.
muted, it's just what you preferred and what you saw on the shelf,
Yeah, and once again, we are going to do 10 of our favorite DC superheroes. But before we get to number 10 here, is there a certain person we need to give a shout out to? Advertisement? The people who keep us on the air.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
The people who keep us well paid.
Yeah, let's talk about that right now.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, everyone. Just wanted to mention real quick about a shop in Canoga Park, California called Spiro's Heroes. Elliot, the proprietor of the store, has over 300,000 books in what's called the Temple of Comics. That's Spiro Heroes in Canoga Park, spirosheroes.com.
Okay, and back from that advertisement. Boy, what a great advertisement that was.
It is one of the most
Just
righteous
delightful.
advertisements.
Just delightful. Love that shop.
Yes, I do. And you know what? 10 years, you can't go wrong.
No. Almost 11 now.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess I think I feel like I should go first. I don't know. I'm just.
Are you saying that just because you own one of the microphones?
I'm really excited. Yeah.
I think he really wants to get into Jaime Reyes.
No, not going to be on my list.
Oh, come on now.
Not going to be on my list. I'll tell you what, if it's on any of your guys' lists, we're going to fight. And the mic will pick it up. They'll pick up the fight.
Now, is there anybody, Donald, that's rather popular in DC Comics you purposely excluded from your list? And is there a particular reason why you may have done that?
That's really popular that I excluded from my list?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Me too.
I actually excluded Wonder Woman from my list. Yeah, and there's a big reason for that.
You're sexist. So
No,
now you're
no,
racist towards
exactly,
Latinos. You are sexist towards women, female heroes.
Exactly the opposite.
Oh my God.
Wonder Woman was a very misogynistic character.
Yes, that was at the beginning.
At the beginning, yes. And that troubled me. That's something that's been on my mind.
Dr. Moulton troubled you that much?
So instead of doing that, I decided I went with a different female character, and she's on my list.
Okay.
And I feel that she represents better than what Wonder Woman could ever represent. I'm not joking. When we get to it, you'll know exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
But my number 10 to start out is going to be Lobo.
Okay.
Lobo. You guys remember Lobo? First appeared in Omega Men number 3. Not exactly the same Lobo that we know and love now.
Nope.
Basically, that would have been more fleshed out due to Keith Giffen, who worked a lot on Lobo and the stories. Lobo is basically the last, and forgive me, I can never pronounce this. You have a better vernacular sometimes than I do, Kevin. What would you say?
The last Zarnian?
Zarnian, okay. The last Zarnian. Basically, he killed all the other Zarnians so he could be the last Zarnian. He's a bastich. And that's the safe comic book word for bastard. And they have him use that all the time. He's beating the shit out of Santa. He's had sex with so many women. A drop of blood can reproduce him. He is...
He can clone himself. Yeah,
Yes,
drops of blood.
he is Wolverine up to 11.
Wow.
And to show how badass he is, if I may add, sir, he was kicked out of both hell and heaven.
Yes. Yes. Not the nicest man in the world, but he did have a few teams. Legion, Rebels. Those were two of the major teams that he was a part of. Both of those were ran by a guy named Vril Dox, who was
He's from the planet Kolu.
Yeah, but he was a prodigy or a son or
Of the original Brainiac.
Of the original Brainiac, yes. So that was a really good run, by the way. If you guys ever get a chance, the original Legion, L.E.G.I.O.N, or which then eventually turned into Rebels. Some of the finest writing and some of the finest comics you'll ever read. So I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it if you get a chance.
Lobo's no joke, man.
Lobo is no joke. He's a great character. Like I said, he's like Wolverine and the Punisher kind of rolled into one, with a little bit of, I don't know, he's got a little sass to him. So I don't know, maybe a little smidge of Spider-Man or something with his quips and the way he talks. But he's a fun guy, and that's my number 10.
All right.
Kevin, who's your number 10? And before I guess we ask you that, is there anyone very popular that you left off the list for any particular reason?
I guess I'll come clean and say it right now. You'll be surprised. The big scout boy himself.
Superman?
Superman.
Oh, my good Lord.
Why Superman?
You know, I like him, but at the same time, I don't love Superman. I think he's kind of overpowered many times. It's kind of hard to relate to him, although I empathize with him being almost like an immigrant from another world, so to speak. I just feel like he's just a little overplayed, you know?
Okay.
To be honest with you,
Fair enough.
I like different versions of the character, variations of it, but we can get into that at another pod. But just the...
But to be clear, you exclude Superman with great respect.
Yes. I exclude him with great respect.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Who's your number 10, Kevin?
Well, it lines up a little bit with Donald's. You mentioned him already. It's Vril Dox.
Ha ha! Wow.
Yep.
What are the odds in that?
I know. Also known as Brainiac 2. He is the son of Brainiac, as I mentioned earlier. And what I like about him, he's highly intelligent, much like his father. And he's a master tactician, used Machiavellian-type tactics. And he's not the most ethical person out there.
Nope.
He's very manipulative.
Yes.
But generally speaking, he does have good intentions. He founded Legion, which was taken away from him, from, I believe, his son.
His own son.
Brainiac 3.
Own infant son.
Yep, Brainiac 3. Yeah, as an infant, too. Isn't that disturbing?
Super genius infant son. Once he could talk, he just took over everything.
Just took over. And then he had to form another group called Rebels, which we also discussed. And I'll amen this again. Tony Bedard, you're the man. That Rebels run was amazing.
Yes. That in the last 10 years, that's the best comic. Both of us agree. It's the best comic book run we've read in the past 10 years.
And I had the honor of meeting Tony Bedard a few years ago at Comic-Con. Great guy. Great conversation. Was breaking down to me some things of what he would have done before the New 52
came. And Tony, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the pod. We'd love to interview and talk a little bit more about Rebels and how it was actually going to end, because I know you have some information on that.
Absolutely. Now, Vril was a smart guy. He put together an awesome team with Rebels. Some of the people who were in Rebels, Starfire, Adam Strange, Captain Comet, and, of course, Mr. Lobo himself. And their adventures were just awesome. I mean, every issue was just a fun read, a fun ride. I mean, I couldn't think of any issue that was boring or that sucked. I mean, it was just a clean, just fun book. But Vril Dox is an awesome, somewhat of a hero, somewhat of a shady guy. But once you read him and once you get to know him, you'll like him. You're number 10, Mr.
Well, first off, I want to tell you, someone I left off the list is nowhere near as prominent as like the folks that you had, but is a contemporary and very popular. I left Green Arrow off.
I'm not upset at you.
I feel like though, yeah, but
Bye.
But
I'm not upset.
But I know Kevin Smith is absolutely apoplectic right now that I would leave Green Arrow off, and you know the thing is that show is important on CW because it has paved the way essentially for a number of DC shows. But I just don't dig Green Arrow. Like there's
the way he is in the show is rather different than the comics. In the comics, he at least has a bit of a personality. Far be it from me to discredit Steven, but his acting is very straight man. You know, he's very serious almost all the time. And that's probably the way he's given the script and told to do, and I understand that. But I would very much like to see the Green Arrow that we would read in the comics, the playboy,
the Oliver Queen that you grew up with,
right? The fun kind of adventurer. Basically he was Robin Hood, you know.
How about the boxing glove arrows? You know,
yes, can't go wrong with those.
There you go.
So number 10, I'm going to go with quite the anti-hero, and that is Deadshot.
Okay.
Floyd Lawton.
Okay.
Expert marksman, assassin, combatant, tactician. Debuted in Batman number 59. Okay. He is a sniper. He kind of very popularly had the wrist-mounted guns. Okay. Those wrist-mounted guns, by the way, I mean, have been, you know, Desperado, one of my favorite 90s movies. You know, remember Antonio Banderas and the wrist-mounted guns. I always kind of dug that about Deadshot. And what I love about his story is he attempted to replace Batman as like the Dark Knight of Gotham City. If you recall, like he was the person that was supposed to be. It's like, oh, no. I got this under control. And I love that story. And you know, one of the better things about him too, he used to have that top hat kind of suit look. I love when he switched to the red jumpsuit and had that really distinctive kind of metal faceplate. I just thought that was an awesome outfit.
Now, did you appreciate Willard Smith's portrayal of the character in Suicide Squad? Parts
of it I did, parts of it I did not. And I think a lot of that is just things Will Smith can't help. You know, Will Smith cannot help but be really likable. He's never so bad that you can buy him as like this evil guy because he's too light, he's too likable. But certain elements, like he played it more like sarcastically, which I don't picture Deadshot as a very sarcastic guy. But it kind of worked for that movie, but at the same time, yeah, I wasn't fully into it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I can agree on that. Will Smith did his best. He was Will Smith.
Yeah.
But Floyd is a little more complex.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But a great character. Oh, talk about an assassin that never misses, you know?
Yeah, and you guys know, like, I love guns, man. Ever since I was a kid watching Schwarzenegger and Stallone movie, I love guns. And this is like one of those true experts in comics with guns.
I know, I brought my 2 guns with me. Oh, yeah.
24 inches, you say, right?
Yep.
Is this where
24-inch pythons.
Is this where we cue another advertisement about your pythons?
All right, that was energetic. Boy, got me jazzed up. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, man.
I'm ready to kick some ass.
My goodness.
All right, so that was your 10th, and now it's back to me
For number 9.
with my number 9.
Which is funny. I kind of noticed it, and it literally, this is very unusual. We both have the same number 9.
We both have the same number 9.
So at this point, we might as well just...
We're gonna combine it.
Might as well combine
And
it
for the
not waste
audience,
time.
we kind of agreed ahead of time. We are trying to conceal these lists from
Yes.
each other.
Right, so
Yes.
it's a total surprise. But my number 9 is, and Kevin's, is the Spectre.
Oh.
The Wrath of God. This is a unique character. This is something that I don't feel that Marvel has, technically.
The closest thing they have to that, but
Yonder?
not... No, Living Tribunal.
Okay,
Because he also judges.
gotcha.
But just on a different... He's doing it more on a more pure cosmic scale where...
Right, yeah, Marvel's always been more cosmic in
Spectre kind of gets up close and personal.
DC's more ethereal,
Yes.
more up close and personal. He would literally turn somebody into a gun and then melt them.
Yep.
You know, the Spectre would find ways to torment people that were doing horrible things.
He's a creepy looking dude, but he's a righteous man.
Right. Did you know though that the co-creator was Jerry Siegel?
Yes.
That's amazing. Jerry Siegel. What else did he do, by the way?
Good old Superman.
Right. Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster created Superman, and then Jerry Siegel went on to create the Spectre with Bernard Bailey. Although sometimes people say Bernard Bailey was just the artist or whatever, but bullshit.
No, give him credit.
Co-creator.
Give him
That's
credit.
what we're doing here.
Give him
He's
credit.
co-creator. More Fun Comics number 52 in February of 1940. If you have that comic book, please mail it to us, courtesy of the Real Short Box. We'll give you the address. Just hit us up on
And
email
we will
us.
send you many blessings with special anointed oil for doing that.
And
Yes.
and we will absolutely not sell it. We will just look at it and in fact, we will illuminate it with a lamp underneath.
It's really interesting what happened to. Basically, Jim Corrigan, who was a hard-boiled cop, he was the Earth. The Spectre is the Wrath of God. He has to be tied to an earthly coral.
Yeah, a
a
human
mortal-
host, a human
yeah,
host,
a human host. So basically, Jim Corrigan who was a hard-boiled cop, was like, "This is right and this is wrong." You know, the Spectre was drawn to him and became part of him. So he would, at times, turn into this spirit of vengeance when he couldn't figure out crimes, or if he knew somebody was guilty and they were getting away with it, he would turn into the Spectre, and the Spectre would do his thing and just take care of business.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what everybody wants to do. And I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen the animated short of the Spectre that they did a few
You're
years
missing
ago,
a treat. You're missing a
oh
treat.
my Lord and gravy, it is great.
You're missing a treat.
It is so good.
Now, if they ever turn this into a movie, my goodness.
No, and I'll tell you, when I was watching the webisode of Ted Cord Blue Beetle Returns, that Spectre outfit and makeup was just outstanding. Like
It was
it
good,
gave
wasn't
me interest in the character that I really didn't have before.
Were you jealous
Yeah.
that you couldn't play that character?
You know, I don't get jealous, Kevin, over things. It's
that
really
was, that
you
was
know,
played by
that's
the fantastic Ash Williams, who is an Australian fellow. He's from Australia.
Yes.
And, he did his best American ethereal accent to play the role.
I tell you, I was quite convinced. I mean, I thought that was a great recreation of that costume. 'Cause, I mean, it's like you read these comics, you're like, oh, it's simple. It's a green cape. It's silver skin.
You
but
wanted to wear it, didn't you?
It's never.
You wanted to wear it, didn't you?
Well, I only want to wear it in the privacy of my own home.
I see.
Fair enough. So that's Kevin and I's number 9. What's your number 9, Darren?
You know, my number 9, I'm going to go with Alfred Pennyworth.
Well,
what?
Now that's an interesting choice. Very
That is a
interesting choice.
very fascinating choice.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like, when you go through Batman, I just want to let you know, I omitted Dick Grayson. I omitted James Gordon. I think there's a lot of heroes of extreme interest to me in Batman.
So Alfred is your 9th choice.
I'm going to choose Alfred, and I'll tell you why. Alfred's interesting to me. Now,
He is. He's interesting.
He debuted in Batman number 16. He's a classically trained actor and a butler, which I think is hilarious, right?
Right.
Now, he's proficient, because there's things that Alfred can do that I think people forget. You know, you see these
He was a spy, wasn't he, for a while?
And he can cook.
He's proficient in first aid and medical techniques. I'll get into the details in a second. He's also proficient in computer systems, and he is retired British intelligence.
There we go.
Now, something that's very important that, these are the little details that make Batman great. You have to have someone that can not only maintain the Batcave, you have to have someone who can maintain Batman.
Yep.
He actually has surgical ability. As well as, if there's certain things about him, the inventions he creates, the inventions that he helps Batman with. And if anyone ever questioned if Alfred was a badass or not, did you know he has been unsuccessfully kidnapped 27 times?
That's amazing.
Who? Alfred?
Yeah.
Alfred.
27 times?
He has been unsuccessfully kidnapped.
That I did not know, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so, I think that also, too, that Batman is a pretty hardcore character if you get hooked on Batman for too much. And you need somebody to balance him out. To quote, Kevin's favorite guy, Thanos, you need someone to balance Batman out. And Alfred Pennyworth is a perfect person to do that.
And he's a great, basically, psychotherapist for him.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, I want to reiterate, we're not going through the best or the most popular. It's our favorites. And
it's our favorites.
Alfred's story is always so intriguing to me, and he's also quite funny. He's like John Gielgud and Arthur with Dudley Moore. He's always
Alfred.
a butler with a smart ass.
I just thought about something. If you ever took Alfred away, that actually might be the one way you could really defeat Bruce Wayne Batman. If you were to actually kill him off, just get your hands on him, just literally take him out of the equation.
They did that in Injustice, Gods Among Us.
You don't say.
Comic book, yeah.
Oh, wow.
What was the result?
Batman started to slip. He started to lose part of his humanity.
You see?
Though it got interesting when Ra's al Ghul, Damien took the body of Alfred and put him in a Lazarus pit and brought him back to life. So it got much more complicated. But Alfred actually put himself on the line. He took some superhuman serum to create superpowers for himself so he could fight Superman. He basically stood toe to toe with some of the greatest heroes of all time in to try to protect his basically son, Bruce Wayne. It's a fantastic story if you guys ever get a chance to read it.
See?
Highly recommend.
A wise decision. Wise choice.
So we're on number 8 then, yes?
Yes, we are.
All right, my number 8. This is going to be an easy one. It's Boston Brand, a.k.a. Deadman.
That's a good choice.
I toiled with Deadman
That's a
on
good
my
choice.
list, honestly.
The reason why I love Deadman so much, he was an acrobat that was killed during a performance. So much like Dick Grayson's parents. There's a great parallel there. Deadman then went on as he went into... it wasn't God that took him and put him into an ethereal realm. It was another type of spirit that latched onto him and said, hey, I will bring you back to life in a way so you can avenge your death and then help avenge the deaths of others. So he took the deal and he went back into the world of man as a ghost, but a ghost with the ability to possess others and then communicate through others. So he could jump into anyone's body, possess them, and then use them to exact his revenge. So much like the Spectre was the spirit of vengeance, so was Deadman in a way. He was a spirit of vengeance as well. He was the wrath of God in a way, but not God. Very interesting idea and a very interesting concept. In fact, they toiled with a TV series of that, which I thought would have been kind of cool. But it didn't happen, and that's okay. Deadman's somebody that I feel like is the quantum leap of DC heroes. And I think that there's definitely a story to tell. I love the idea of the character.
There's a little sense of humor, too.
Yeah, and, he's even though he's dead, he does have a sense of humor about it. So that I appreciate.
At that point, if you're dead, you might as well just have a sense of humor about it.
It's like that character in American Werewolf in London who just keeps following his buddy around despite being dead.
Yep.
I find that humorous.
So Rama was the Hindu god that brought him back, by the way.
Okay. And that's
real
Hindu god, by the way.
I realized I did not say that. So
okay.
Yeah, so that was an interesting idea that wasn't around in comic books. That's another thing about DC is they were Marvel's creative, yes, but DC was just like, let's throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. Let's do a bunch of drugs and come up with this kind of shit. So we got Shade the Changing Man, we got Dead Man, you know, Spectre.
Hey,
all
60s
this.
and 70s, man. Those are the times.
Yeah, I mean back then, yeah, absolutely. What's your number 8, Kevin?
It is Princess Diana of Themyscira, Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah.
The original ultimate symbol of female strength and empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt the most influential female superhero in history. She has a heart of gold, but she'll kick your ass. The lasso of truth is always an effective tool of justice. And how can you ever forget the invisible jet?
I just keep thinking of the Family Guy parodies of the Invisible Jet. You know, about they're playing strip poker and asking Wonder Woman to show her pair.
Oh, my goodness.
Good Lord.
So I guess, is there more you have to say about Wonder Woman, or is it pretty self-explanatory? Because I feel like she's a very popular character, and especially after a successful movie.
Yeah,
lots of
self-explanatory.
people know a lot of things about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and you know, piggybacking on what you said earlier in the podcast about Dr. Moulton, yes, there was misogyny involved and whatnot. And by the way, I have to watch that movie that they did. It came out the same year that Wonder Woman came out on Moulton himself. I heard it was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard that too. I'm just like, I couldn't do it just because of that. I felt like, I don't know, like a character. I can understand that the character became much more than what the creator had intended.
I see.
But in the original, you know, she would like be bent over and would be spanked and stuff, and it was just very sexualized. I feel like a lot of women don't know that, or you know, probably I could be wrong, but I would imagine based on the history and her having been around for as long as she has, people see Wonder Woman as the empowerment of women, and I can understand that. But if they knew maybe the root of the character and how it was developed, they might not be so inclined to do so. But again, I could be wrong. I usually am.
No, that's a fair point.
Okay, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're a newborn feminist. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, my number 8, I don't know. I love this character. I'm going with Detective Chimp.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
My man.
Nothing
All
wrong with
right.
that.
Now, he debuted in Adventures of Rex the Wonder Dog number 4.
That is an incredibly hard comic to find, by the way.
Really?
Good fucking luck.
Really?
Legit.
Low print run?
Very low print run. Think about it. Rex the Wonder. Think about the
true.
print run. Yeah.
Good point.
But it was number 4.
Yeah.
Released
even makes it
released
worse.
in 1952. Now, one of the things that really draws me to Detective Chimp, this is something I love about DC Comics, but I absolutely can't stand about DC Comics. There are unlimited powers to some of these people that you're sitting here and you're like, okay, time out. You need to get more specific and stop being so general. Example, Detective Chimp has the ability to speak to all animals. All. Okay? If you can speak to all animals, you essentially have to have unbelievable power to mobilize. You know,
It's true.
has a genius human level intellect. So wait, he can talk to all the animals, and he's a freaking genius. Okay.
Mhm.
Also, chimpanzees, according to the Detective Chimp comics, they're naturally 7 times stronger than even the most athletic of humans. He is a great detective, has unbelievable investigative ability. He's a member of Mensa,
Ooh.
which is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
He has sense-expanding powers, by the way, that were granted to him by the helmet of Dr. Fate.
He was also in the Shadow Pact.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this now, because Detective Chimp has powers that are so invulnerable to me in many, many respects, I had to find a weakness. Apparently, Detective Chimp cannot swim.
What? You're supposed to be a Mensa member.
Kevin, I can't make this up. This is right in the book. He cannot swim.
That's amazing.
And we have more than one sequence of this as proof.
Wow. Of all
Okay.
things to bring a great chimp down.
Yeah. That's racist.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
No.
How are you 7 times stronger than the most athletic
Detective
human?
Chimp
And you can't swim?
can't swim. It's racist towards chimps, Kevin.
Hey, Chimp, I got a little button here. I'm going to blow up the world. Too bad I'm in the middle of a lake.
Wow, that's messed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's evil.
Yep. All right. So we got Detective Chimp. That was number...
Number 8 for me. So number 7 to
number
you,
7
sir.
for me. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with my number 7, which is the Green Lantern Corps.
Ooh.
Now, I didn't choose a particular Green Lantern for a reason, because I feel like they are strong as a unit. So I went with the core. That includes Hal Jordan, that includes Guy Gardner, that includes John Stewart, that includes Kyle Rayner, that includes our boy, you know him, Mr. Pink Pepto-Bismol.
Guy Gardner,
No, not Guy Gardner.
Hal Jordan,
No!
Jimmy Stewart,
Yes, it's Jimmy Stewart.
John Stewart,
No.
Kyle Rayner.
No.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but notice. I'm sorry to interrupt, Donald. I noticed a big grimace on your face here. Do you have some thoughts about this Green Lantern Corps you'd like to share with everybody?
I will later.
Okay, fair
It's
enough.
very special to me.
Fair enough.
I know it's very special to you. That's why I chose the whole core, so I could kind of glaze over it, and I figured you would choose one particular one. But we're talking the hippo. Well, he looks kind of like a hippo. Right?
Oh, you talking about boy, the strong boy?
Yeah. What is his name? You know who I'm talking about. Kilowog. Kilowog, Kevin. Kilowog.
Yes, Kilowog.
Famously
Yes.
voiced by Michael Clark.
He always
Duncan.
insults his trainees
The
as
Poozer.
poozers.
Yeah, Poozer. Hey, Poozer, you Poozer.
Yeah, Poozer.
Yeah, Kilowog and a bunch of others. Who was the planet? The name of the planet? Mogo?
It's like Mogo, something like
Yeah,
that.
Mogo.
You know what it looked
Basically a whole planet. And then they had one that was a virus or like a bacteria
Yeah, it was weird.
that became a Green Lantern. There was one that was a fly. There was a dog. There's one called Chip or Chichir. It was like a squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel, yeah.
They've had so many really cool Green Lantern members from other planets and from Earth and stuff that created the core that were run by the Guardians.
Of the Galaxy. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Whoa. Guardians. Wow, I knew I was going to make that mistake.
Whoa.
Guardians of the Universe.
There you go.
Excuse me. Damn you, Marvel.
Ganthet.
Can you say Guardians of the Universe in serial guy voice?
Guardians. Oh, Guardians of the Universe.
Or you could go. You could be like Guardians of the Universe. That works too.
Love it.
That works too. But anyway, the Green Lantern Corps was a great idea. It was a great way to bring DC Comics characters into outer space, into parallel dimensions, into worlds, into other planets, and just an amazing idea for and so many things that you could do with it. And there's just been so many good stories.
It's like the United Nations around the green power battery.
Yeah, I mean, like, yes, absolutely. So that would be my number 7, right? Number 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it with
Yeah.
confidence.
Say it with confidence.
You know it to be
I
true.
don't know. I get confused with the
I'll say
numbers.
it's
Kevin, what's
7.
your 7?
7 was your 10. That's Lobo.
Oh, nice.
Lobo, we just talked about him before. What I like about him, what we didn't mention, was he's like the ultimate bounty hunter. He can track
That's
you
true.
across galaxies and kill you. He's kind of like, he'll make the Predator look bad. Matter of fact, that'd be a good fight, but I think he would rip the Predator in half and then some.
But
Matter of fact, he could take out a whole planet of Predators.
But what I'd like to know from you, Kevin, do you like the band Los Lobos?
You know what? La 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 bamba.
Yeah, there you go.
Arriba!
I like them.
Shit.
But you know, another thing that's an underrated fact about Lobo, in a dark, twisted way, he is a genius.
Really?
Yes. He knows
Okay.
all kinds of ways to take you out and rip you apart.
He's much smarter than he
looks.
leads on.
Then he
yeah.
looks. And one last thing I'll say about him. You remember back in the 90s when they had that DC versus Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the idiot fan base, no offense to some of you, voted Wolverine over Lobo in the fight. So when they fought each other,
little crazy, yeah.
Yeah, Wolverine won. But because they probably had no idea who Lobo was. Like, oh,
Nope.
Wolverine's popular, so I'll just go with Wolverine. And for those in the know, there is no way. There is no way that Wolverine could beat Lobo.
Yeah, don't treat Lobo as a disposable character.
As a matter of fact, Lobo, Deadpool, Omega Red together against Lobo, it's still not going to work out too well.
You just said Lobo, Deadpool.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Wolverine,
Yeah.
Deadpool, Sabretooth, and Omega Red together against Lobo isn't going to work out too well.
No, Lobo's a very powerful character. Very
isn't-
underrated.
And isn't Deadpool a ripoff of a DC character?
Yes, he
Yes,
is.
known as Deathstroke.
There you
The
go.
Terminator.
Terminator.
All right, what's your number 7?
My number 7, it's like I fighted putting this person on the list, but eventually you just have to cave in, and that's Arthur Curry, the Aquaman.
There you go.
Debuted in More Fun Comics number 73 in 1941. He is part human, part Atlantean. Now, part of the reason that I was resistant is because I just put generally superhuman. Whenever they say superhuman, you can assume the speed's here, you can assume the intelligence, you can assume the strength, all that stuff is to be assumed. What's interesting to me is I'm trying to picture if Aquaman is in a fight with a superhero, can Aquaman hold his own and then some? And the answer is yes. I'm really impressed by much like Detective Chimp, he has telepathic control of all aquatic life. All.
Seahorses
Take
included.
that, Namor.
Seahorses included.
Yeah, precisely.
You know, the male seahorse is the one that carries the babies.
You don't say.
I do.
Oh, I know women out there would love that.
Yes, they probably
Some would.
Some would.
Okay, this is another thing, too, in the all category. Understands all languages on Earth.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Even Portuguese from the movie Waterworld.
So basically what you're saying is he understands over 5,000 modern languages that are spoken. That's what you're saying.
And Kevin Costner.
You know what? He might even understand ancient Egyptian and all sorts of things that they don't even speak anymore.
And if you look at the various types of, he at one point could control water. He was almost elemental in power. And
By the way, are you in love with Jason Momoa? Is that the real reason why that's on your list?
Well, Jason Momoa
man.
is a former underwear model, okay? And I mean, I don't want to knock the guy or anything, but he was terrible as Conan. It's not his fault, but he was terrible in Conan.
Would you tell it to his face?
I mean, if I felt so compelled, I'd try to avoid it, but if it came up, you got to tell the truth. He has hydrokinesis, uses the trident of Poseidon. Now, of course, I have to ask the question, is he too powerful? Probably to keep my interest for lengthy amounts of time. But what I like the most about Aquaman is he's in a very unique world. He's underwater. I think that's a pretty neat idea for a comic book. And there's endless things you can do in the ocean as far as like ideas and things of that nature. And of course, Pixar's Finding Nemo actually was able to utilize that kind of space as well to like, it's a different world. It's unique. You see Aquaman, I just like the visual of it. You know, it's
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your typical run-of-the-mill comic world.
All right, Donald, what is your number 6?
My number 6. This is the one that I talked about earlier. This is the one that I said, you know, I can't get behind Wonder Woman. So I'm going to get behind Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
I'm going to get behind Barbara Gordon for a number of reasons. My number one reason would be, though, I chose her to be as Oracle. And the reason why I feel is when you have something that happens to you in your life that really can be tragic, it can disable you in a lot of ways. What most people would say would be life-ending to them, Barbara Gordon saw as a way to triumph, to take control of her life.
A new opportunity.
And create a new opportunity for herself. She became the Oracle. From Batgirl, who was paralyzed by the Joker's shot to her spine, she became the Oracle, the number one information source for Batman and all of the Batman family.
Almost like a lesser but good version. That's not good version, but a lesser version, like a DC version of Cerebro, in a way, but like a human version.
In a way, yeah. Or the exact opposite of what the Calculator would be. She could be able to anticipate and create ideas and avenues out of certain situations. She first appeared as the Oracle in Suicide Squad number 23. By the way, that's still a reasonable book to get. So prospectors,
get it now.
Get it now. Suicide Squad number 23. A lot of people don't know about that. She first appeared as Batgirl in Detective Comics number 359, by the way. That was in January of 1967. So she's not the oldest character in the world, but she is one of the best, in my opinion, especially in the female, the woman empowerment world. I very much appreciate her character and what she's done for the Bat family. Much like you said about Alfred, I think she's double as important in a way for what she can do, because she's not just doing it for him, she's doing it for the entire group of people in Gotham.
And to all you podcasters out there, when he says double, trust me, we did the equation, okay?
Yes, we did.
Check your work.
We did the math. But yes, so she became the information source for the Bat family and for sometimes even the Justice League. She was a very informative, very smart cookie, very tough, no nonsense, but still fun-loving, and had her quirky qualities, and a very good, very enjoyable character. So my number would be for my number 6 would be for the Oracle, Barbara Gordon.
Okay. My number 6, real quick, is Cyborg, Mr. Victor Stone.
All right.
Okay.
Another person who went through adversity in his life, former star athlete, injured in a lab accident, losing limbs left and right. But with that, him being a master of the mother box and learning to control technology, this guy is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
A valuable member of the Teen Titans and the Justice League. I even liked his version in the Justice League movie, even though we didn't get too much of his life and all, but I thought it was well played.
What they did with him was cool. Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I appreciated it.
Well played.
Yeah, and much like Wolverine in Marvel Comics, this is an example of somebody that was born with many disadvantages or had decisions perhaps made for him that he did not want. And I'm always interested in characters like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Cyborg's your number 6.
Yes, it is.
All right, Darren, what's your number 6?
My number 6, I'm going to just piggyback off Kevin. Diana Prince, the Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Debuted in All-Star Comics number 8, 1941. Of course, he mentioned a lot of these things, but that generally superhuman thing comes up again. Now, what's interesting is Donald had brought up kind of his view of Wonder Woman. This is how I've always kind of viewed Wonder Woman. If we start with because I think she is very representative of what we would call first wave feminism. Her lasso of truth, guys, think about this. How symbolic is the lasso of truth to all these cheating, smarmy men?
Of course.
I think that's an empowering
Of course.
symbol, at least for a parallel to me.
Notice she's not wrapping it around herself.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, the interesting thing about first wave feminism, you can trace this back to the abolitionist movement, women's suffrage, etc. In my opinion, I view, especially the way the movie took care of it, and I view her as a strong feminine woman from my point of view.
Absolutely.
I think that she's definitely is out to do the right thing, but at the same time, she can see a baby and be like, oh, how adorable. Like, that's just kind of my view.
You can marry her.
Yeah, absolutely. Or as my friend Ryan would say, wifey material.
There you
Wife
go.
and material.
And what's
Donald, what's your number 5?
My number 5.
We're getting juicy, guys. Top 5.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh,
Okay,
uh-oh.
so my number 5 is Billy Batson, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, a.k.a. Shazam. Now, something that I found extremely different about Billy Batson and Shazam and Captain Marvel in general, there's a lot. So let's get into this. Shazam was not originally, Captain Marvel was not originally a DC Comics character.
Nope, Fawcett Publications.
Fawcett Publications. In fact, DC sued Fawcett Publications into
Near oblivion.
into oblivion, basically. And then they claimed the rights to Captain Marvel eventually by purchasing the characters from Fawcett Comics.
It's funny because we teased this in a previous podcast about EC Comics.
Yeah, we did. Another interesting thing about Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel can no longer be called Captain Marvel, which is why in April, right? In April, we'll have a movie called Shazam.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Literally like 2 or 3 weeks after Captain Marvel.
Right, because DC Comics, as stupid as they were,
Yep.
they let the rights lapse for the name. And Marvel Comics said, how great would it be to have a Captain Marvel? So they picked up the rights and they created their own Captain Marvel, and the rest is history.
Yep.
Captain Marvel, a.k.a. Billy Batson, was no longer be able to be called Captain Marvel on the comic book cover, on the page. Inside the comics, he could, but on the cover, they usually called it something like the Power of Shazam, which is the wizard that gave Billy his power. Mm-hmm. Billy was a bit of a naughty little kid. He was an orphan, and but he knew what was right and wrong, So he got given the power by the wizard Shazam to have all these strengths. He basically was Superman when he said the words of the wizard Shazam. When he said his name, he would become a Superman, essentially. And that's what I found interesting. Although he became a Superman-like character, having the wisdom of the Solomon and the strength of Hercules. He had Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and the speed of Mercury, I believe, as well. He was always grounded in innocence. Captain Marvel was always a very innocent character because of his childlike outlook on life. So it was very fun to kind of see that dynamic. It would be like if you had the Justice League and you put a child in there. Only the child was in disguise as a grown man superhero, with superpowers. That's what I really was drawn to by Shazam, a.k.a. Captain Marvel. They did actually change his name over to Shazam now, officially, I believe.
Yes.
In the DC Comics world, because they realize that they're never going to get that name back.
Nope. Yeah, and perhaps on our social media sites, we should post a poll. Would you be up for changing the vernacular of ta-da to Shazam?
I like it.
I'm telling you.
I'm fine with that.
Let's take a poll here.
I'm fine with that.
We're going to do are you picking Shazam or ta-da?
So, like I said, it was the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules. It was also, I forgot to mention, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, and the courage of Achilles. And then, of course, like I said, the speed of Mercury. So that is Shazam in a nutshell. And just a great, great character. Kevin, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Barry Allen Flash. The Flash.
All right.
And as we know, the Flash is essentially a god of speed for all intents and purposes.
Yes.
Knows how to use the Speed Force to their advantage. And what I like about Barry Allen is the sacrifice he made back in the day during the crisis on Infinite Earths against the Anti-Monitor. Very honorable. And he prepared, to the best of his ability, Wally West.
To become his protege.
Yeah.
So when Barry, what did he do in Crisis on Infinite Earths? What did he do to become the character that you love so much?
Oh, I'm just saying. It's just
a lot of people don't know what happened.
Oh, his death. I mean, essentially,
he ran himself to death.
He ran himself to death in the fight against the Anti-Monitor. So, he basically made the greatest sacrifice you can make for your, for your team, for your planet.
Absolutely.
I mean, no doubt, he is Central City's finest.
Now, Kevin, are you a Jay Garrick fan?
I have no problem with him, but not as big of a fan. But he's cool. He's the Golden Age Flash.
He had when I was younger, I was like, he's got Captain America's shield on his head.
Well, you know what? He reminds me a little bit of like a clothed version of the FTD guy. The flowers, the Mercury.
Okay.
That's what Jay Garrick kind of reminds me of. The way he's dressed.
Okay. I'm going to go on to my number 5 here. I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce his real name.
Okay.
But I really love this character. I'm going to go with Martian Manhunter.
Okay, good. That's a good choice.
Detective Comics number 225, released in 1955. Now, once again, we're kind of in a run here of the generally superhuman, though he is not human. He's alien. He's a Martian. But try to picture defeating a superhero like this. A genius, photographic memory, superhuman, generally, shapeshifter, invisibility, flight, regenerative healing, has the Martian 9 senses, which are awesome. Telepathy, he's telekinetic, and has heat vision. Now what I really dig about Martian Manhunter, and I kind of really like about DC, I feel in the Marvel world, you have a general, like they all generally kind of know each other. It feels like they all intermingle and intermix, and so like the villains for one are the villains for the other, and blah, blah, blah. Martian Manhunter kind of exists in a very unique world. He's chasing down Imperium, Betty Noir, Commander Blanks, Despero, the Headmaster. And I'm telling you, these are like whole new comic world universes, and I'm just fascinated by him. And Martian Manhunter is nasty.
Mm-hmm. He can be a mean son of a bitch, that's for sure.
He deserves a movie.
His shapeshifter can disguise himself. His only weakness is fire, right?
Yep.
And recently, I believe he started to overcome that or work on overcoming it.
Well, that's good.
Because it was more of a mental fear.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if this was a movie? I hate to overuse the word, but how cool would a Martian Manhunter movie look?
Yeah. They could just call it Manhunter. Oh, wait.
Can't really do that. Can't do that.
Or better than Man-Eater.
Wah, wah. All right, so we're going to go to number 4. My 4 is quick and easy, guys. Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Okay.
He's pretty low on the list considering, so I apologize for that. But I feel like, honestly, he's basically Zorro and the Shadow put together.
Yes.
He's a rich guy that has had some tragedy in his past, and he uses that to propel himself and drive himself to fight crime and become something more, to draw fear into the hearts of man, into the villains. He created a family dynamic. He fights such rich characters, probably the best villains in the whole history of comic books.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've just offhand, Clayface, the Joker, the Scarecrow, the Penguin, Ra's al Ghul, Riddler, Bane, Catwoman. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Just amazing characters that could stand alone on their own.
Well written.
And well written. Very well written. So my number 4 is Batman. No disrespect from time, but we all know who he is. Kevin?
And my number 4, real quick, as you already mentioned him earlier, was Shazam.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You know, Shazam, what I like about him is he's basically, for many boys, it's a fantasy to grow up and be a tall, muscular, powerful guy.
Mm-hmm.
And just simply, you know, if you're a little kid, if you just said the magic word Shazam and all of a sudden you turn into that, how awesome would that be?
That'd be pretty awesome.
You know, so you can't go wrong there. And then, of course, he has a great classic villain in Black Adam.
That he does. Good mention. Black Adam. Going to be played by The Rock soon.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, my number 4, there's only one protector of Sector 2814 for me, and that's Hal Jordan.
Nice.
Aircraft pilot, obviously has the power ring, which that movie, which I could tell they were running out of money as it was going on.
Yeah.
I did think that the power ring effects were actually quite cool. He can create force fields, has these hard light constructs. Obviously, he, by the way, premiered in Showcase 22 in 1959.
That's correct.
He founded the Justice League. A little known fact. His willpower versus fear. And what's interesting, too, there's a neat story where as Parallax, he could reconfigure time and space. And he also, in that, as Parallax, knocked out Superman with one punch.
How awesome is that?
That's happened. It's always crazy to see a villain that was once a hero do something as damaging like that to Superman. That's scary.
He turned a major heel there.
Yes. You knock Superman on your ass, you're a good villain. So we're moving on to number 3, yeah?
Yes, we are.
My number 3, Kevin, you're going to like this, I think. It's Wally West.
Oh.
A.K.A. the real Flash.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Barry Allen is boring. Boring Barry is what I would call him.
Wow.
Wally West was kind of fun. Let's admit it. Right? We can all admit it. Can't we admit it?
No.
We just can't admit he's better than Barry Allen.
That's right.
As the Flash, he appeared in the Crisis on Infinite Earths number 12. He stepped up. He was the Kid Flash for a while. He stepped up and took over the role of the Flash when Barry Allen died. And some would say he became a better Flash than you've ever seen. He is literally the fastest man alive. He's still faster than Barry Allen. There's no one faster than Wally West.
That's true.
Unparalleled in his speed and in his charm and in his jokes, because he's hilarious.
Of course.
Mark Waid and Jeff Johns wrote him for a while. Mark Waid, I feel, did the best. He created the family unit for Wally West. He put in Max Mercury again. He put in Jake Garrick again, Jesse Quick, all those characters. Created Impulse. Just a great dynamic for a family and for a character to be so well-rounded as Wally West.
So he's the best of the speedsters.
That is the best. He's the best of speedsters, and he is my number 3.
But the question is, did our friend Dennis dress as Wally West or Barry Allen?
Probably Barry.
Kevin, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is a great character. Swamp Thing, Mr. Alec Holland.
Oh, shit.
That is definitely a highbrow selection, I must say.
Why, thank you. Now, how awesome is it? I mean, even though he suffered tragedy in a unfortunate accident that turned him into Swamp Thing, the fact that the powers that were bestowed upon him, especially through the blessings of the Parliament of Trees, the ability to control all plant life and vegetation on Earth.
Ooh. All. There's that word again.
All. You can...
He could take out the Hulk.
And we talked about that. You know, that was a very controversial thing I did at an earlier pod. People disagree with it, but I don't care.
I don't disagree.
I stand by it.
I'm with you.
This guy controls all plant and vegetation on Earth, or can. So you can burn him up, or whatever, or chop him up with a chainsaw. It's okay. He just reform himself anywhere at any time, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he's the representative from the province. He represents the green. He lost his old life and his physical body due to a lab accident, but with that, he is the Swamp Thing.
You know, it's interesting because usually the first type of character created with that kind of power is usually the most famous. Usually they got to it first.
They got to it first.
The first originally would be the Heap, I believe, which would have been from Airfighter or Airboy comics from the 40s, the 1940s. But that didn't quite take off. So in the 70s, I believe it was, Marvel created Man-Thing.
Man-Thing.
And Man-Thing was like, almost looked like he had an elephant trunk, and people burned at the sight of him or at the touch of him if they were impure or did bad things.
What you call like those muck characters.
Right, and then muck monsters, yeah. And then Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing just resonated with people. They created a human tie to the characters. So this is something
sympathetic, empathetic.
Everybody always claimed that Marvel, always had the theory, the formula down for very sympathetic characters. But I think that DC, one of the huge things they got right was with Alec Holland tying him to Swamp Thing, yeah.
And for those who are aware, the great run that was written by Alan Moore.
Absolutely.
And then in recent times, I like Scott Snyder's run on it as well.
Oh, brilliant. And then Charles Soule picked up and just ran with it. So those guys just killed it. They just killed it. Highly recommend that run.
Absolutely.
So for my number 3, I'm going to kind of start in this little run of people that made DC Comics what it is now. Okay. I'm going with Clark Kent. Appeared in Action Comics #1 in 1938. You realize this is a comic book realistically you could buy for 7 figures.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is incredible. The Man of Steel who believes in truth, justice, and the American way. Obviously has all these invulnerabilities. But I'll tell you, 2 powers of his I particularly find interesting are the X-ray vision. And I'm kind of into the wind breath.
Really?
I just think that's really interesting that this dude can...
I wonder what it smells like.
Well, the chances are it'll be the last thing you smell.
That's true. That's true.
You just smell wind.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. They say he is essentially gets credit as the first superhero, which we all know is Gilgamesh, people. Okay?
That's true.
We should maybe potentially look into a future
Sumerian
podcast.
The Great Sumerian.
We should look into a future podcast maybe of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Right? So Superman is kind of like, I want to say he's an original in the sense that he really in many ways embodies so much of the comic book universe. So people took ideas from Superman and it clearly inspired other comics, being it through DC or Marvel. He was massively distributed also. And keep in mind, as you know, I love these historical parallels. Superman in many ways represents patriotism, and he was born essentially during the Great Depression. And when you're waking up every morning and there's nothing pleasant going on in so many people's lives, what a great opportunity to read Superman and kind of its great escapism for a very hard time in American history.
It's true.
And world history, for that matter.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Donald, who's your number 2? Man, we're getting into heavy hitters right now. Number 2.
Oh, my number 2. Superman.
See, Kevin, he's on both our lists. I don't mean to exclude
I'm on board.
you.
I'm on board with Superman.
Sorry,
Let me
fellas.
tell you what, he is the dawn and the creation of the superhero. If it wasn't for Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, we would not have
Kal-El.
comic books that we have today. You're correct. Yeah, Kal-El.
Yes, totally, Donald.
Here's the other thing about Superman, and I think this was most eloquently put in Kill Bill Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Kent is the alias. He is something that was created. Superman is Superman. Superman has these powers. He was born with these powers on basically when he came to Earth, because this Earth's sun gave him these powers. There's nothing that defines him more than being who he is. And under the yellow sun, he is who he is. He is a superpowered being. His alias is a vulnerable human with many idiosyncrasies.
A reporter.
Yes, a reporter. Now that's where Clark Kent's strength comes in. He's able to drive out the bad guys through his written word, whereas Superman uses his fists and his X-ray vision and his heat vision and his super breath and his flight and his super strength and everything else Superman has. Originally also, Superman wasn't able to fly. He was just able to leap very far, which is interesting. He became stronger and stronger, which is when they decided he's too strong, guys, and they created kryptonite to weaken the character, to make him more vulnerable, and to show you that even a Superman, for lack of a better phrase, and thank you Dan Jurgens for this, even a Superman can die.
And I'll tell you what, Donald, a question I have for you, and Kevin, I'd like to extend it out to you too. We've obviously had Superman in a number of iterations of film, but I feel in so many cases he's fighting Lex Luthor and General Zod. Is there a villain that you have not seen on screen that Superman has that you'd love to see in a movie?
Put it out there. You and I both know.
Well, one of them in particular is Brainiac, obviously.
Yep. Boom.
And interestingly enough, he was supposed to have been the villain for Superman 3.
And he's the main villain in the Krypton series, season 1 on Sci-Fi Network.
What do you guys think of Bizarro?
Bizarro, I think I might have said this on a previous pod. Batman vs Superman, that's the character they should have used when Lex Luthor was experimenting and they came out with Doomsday. Bizarro would have made more sense. Had they turned Zod into Bizarro, it would have had a deeper connection.
Yeah.
He would still be relatively, humanoid looking, and you just bring him back in that form. I think that would be really cool had they went in that direction. And you wouldn't be, blitzed with all the CGI nonsense.
Superman has many villains, much more villains than we give him credit for, to be honest. Mitch Xpedalix.
Mr. Mispliktik, yep.
Yes, thank you.
Mongol.
Cyborg
Superman.
Mongol was Doomsday before there was Doomsday, essentially. Silver Banshee was another one, which was magic-based, basically, which was another weakness of Superman they created later on. Parasite, which is another great one, which steals the power of someone to become more powerful himself. And the list just goes on and on. I mean, Superman's had a lot. Metallo, he's had a lot of great villains.
Yep.
A lot of very interesting villains. It's just, he's Superman. So it's harder to create a story, wrap a story around a character like that.
Yeah, and of course, when you look back in history, most people aren't reading the books. They're going to watch the movie and cheat. And when you watch the movie, all you're going to think is he has Lex Luthor and General Zod.
Right.
That's true.
Kevin, who's your next?
My number 2 is the ultimate detective, the master of science, technology, and fighting styles. He has overcome unbeatable odds without superpowers.
The Blue Beetle.
No. Batman.
Okay.
Think about it. He has to rely on his wits and his intellect.
Yeah.
Even though he has a lot of money to go with it.
Gotcha.
But that's what I appreciate about Batman.
Okay.
He doesn't have superpowers, much like we talked about in the Marvel pod about Iron Man.
Yes.
Someone who relies on what he has upstairs.
Well, then that just means Batman's kind of a dummy. He didn't create a robotic suit to hide inside of.
Well, actually, he has.
Well, yeah, but he didn't at the beginning. Iron Man did at the beginning.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, Darren, who's your number 1?
My number two is also Bruce Wayne, debuted in Detective Comics 27 in 1939.
Crazy.
I mean, it's no accident that there's so many movies made about Batman.
Yeah.
Batman.
He's a very interesting character.
It's awesome.
He's kind of like a Shakespearean character in a way. You can so many different interpretations, and the villains alone, as we talked about earlier, so well written.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Frank Miller's run in '92. I mean, really rebirthed Batman and kind of made it sort of awesome.
Actually, it was in the '80s.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, think of the 80s. I got confused with something else in the 90s. You'd talk about Doomsday, and Doomsday killed Superman. That's why the 90s just came in my mind.
Gotcha.
So we had...
he did get broken in the 90s, though, Batman.
Yes.
So we had... by Bane. So we had high-tech... He has high-tech equipment, gadgets. Now, the interesting, Batman's stories are very cynical in many ways. Mm-hmm. And you're right. He's very similar to Iron Man. I had that as a note. Thanks for stealing that note. He's a rich guy, but I mean, in many ways, he's kind of pretty average. I don't view Batman as particularly exceptional as Bruce Wayne. He just is. But the thing that I find with him is he's very vengeful, which can wear on a reader. I get that. He'll never essentially be happy. But once again, why is Batman great? I don't want to get into the debate about who has the best superheroes, but the best supervillains, but the best villains in DC to me, I think it's pretty clearly Batman.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't have a great hero, of course, without great villains.
There's no better villains than Batman's villains. 100%. So that's your number 2.
Yes.
My number 1. You ready? Oh, buddy, we all knew this was coming. I did this web series. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called The Blue Beetle Ted Kord Returns. So naturally, my number 1 would be Ted Kord, a.k.a. the Blue Beetle. He was originally published by Charlton Comics and later picked up by DC Comics. It was created by Steve Ditko, who also co-created Spider-Man with Stan Lee. He appeared first as a backup featuring Captain Atom number 83.
Go get it if you can.
Good fucking luck.
And,
That book's like a $400 book.
Don't you
now.
have like 3 or 4 copies at this point?
I had 4. I sold one to Jarrett, so he could have a copy.
Oh man, you're a good man.
I know. He's a good guy. I sold it to him for cheap too.
Wow.
Jared, I give you a hell of a
value?
deal. No, I give him a hell of a deal. I give a friend deal.
Yeah.
Like somebody that I knew was going to take care of it. Anyway, the backup feature ran from Captain Adam number 83 through 86. He then had his own series. It only ran for like 5 issues, I believe. It was Blue Beetle. And then the character kind of became more like a disappearing act. He just kind of fell by the wayside. DC Comics eventually picked up a lot of the characters from Charlatan Comics, Ted Kord being one of them. He first appeared in, I believe it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, if I'm correct, along with Captain Atom, The Question, and a few other characters from Charlatan Comics. Ted Kord is basically what you would do is if you grabbed Batman with your left hand, you grab Spider-Man with your right, and you smash them together. You had a rich, kind of a playboy type, smart-ass character that had funny quips and no real powers to speak of. He inherited the Scarab from Dan Garrett, who was originally a Fox publication comic book character. Dan Garrett had superpowers from originally a vitamin type thing that he took and then later became part of the Egyptian Scarab that gave him the powers. Ted Kord was unable to unlock those powers. So if you think about Transformers the movie, when Optimus Prime died, who couldn't unlock the Matrix?
Ultra Magnus.
Ultra Magnus could not, and then Hot Rod eventually was able to.
It became Rodimus Prime.
Right.
Yes.
So Hot Rod would be the Jaime Reyes that we all know and hate. Ted Kord would be the
Optimus Prime?
no, not the Optimus Prime, the
Ultra Magnus?
Ultra Magnus.
I see.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I see.
But a very cool character, very great character, and somebody I think like everybody talks about Ant-Man in the movies and how Paul Rudd played that character. I think Paul Rudd would have been a perfect Ted Kord Blue Beetle for the same reason. Ted just has that type of personality, that type of attitude.
If something happens where he gets fired, then guess what? He can be a Ted Kord.
He could definitely come over with what's his face from Guardians.
James Gunn?
Yes, James Gunn.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, every one of these smart-ass characters in comics, I just think Ryan Reynolds should play.
That's true. But Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, he's my number one. He's the best character I've come across in comic books of all time. So I highly recommend if you don't know the character,
Get to know him.
seek him out, get to know him. And definitely check out the web series, The Blue Beetle Ted Kord Returns.
And I had a question about Kord Returns. It's not a knock on it, but there's a fan that I used to work with, and he really enjoyed the web series. But one villain he kept bringing up, wondering if you were going to get to them, was Vandal Savage. Now, are you a Vandal Savage guy, or?
Vandal Savage, yes, I'm a big fan of Vandal Savage. In fact, we did a panel at Long Beach Comic Con discussing this, and somebody asked in the audience about that. They said, what are your plans for the next season? And I said, well, I will do another season if I could get Tim Curry to play Vandal Savage. And this was before Tim Curry unfortunately had his stroke and had the issues that he has now health-wise. Before then, to me, there was no more of a perfect Vandal Savage than Tim Curry. And unfortunately, he's no longer available. I was no longer able to use that character in my mind, so I kind of shut that character out of the history of the Blue Beetle and went on with a different character, a different villain, which started to make his appearance in Season 3 and will be more seen in Season 4, and that would be Eclipso.
Eclipso.
Ooh.
Yeah, so another spirit of vengeance from another Wrath of God type character.
Yes, a rival of the Spectre.
Right, a rival of the Spectre, which is why the Spectre was also in the Blue Beetle Ted Kord Returns in Season 3.
So, Kevin, you're number one.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. That's right. Green Lantern is my favorite. I have a 4-way tie with all the
The Earth Green Lanterns?
Earth Green Lanterns. I like all 4. I
for
really
all
do.
different aspects.
For all different aspects, all 4 are awesome.
For John Stewart for his
architecture,
his architectural
his
mindset,
tactician.
his intellect, his kind of for his tactical type
Actually,
things.
Kyle Rayner for his artistic skills and just being like that guy. Why? Oh me, oh my. You know, when everything went down, Hal Jordan getting that last ring from Ganthet, and him just taking off and just
Keeping the spirit alive.
just keeping the spirit alive and just growing into his own and becoming a strong Green Lantern. And of course, Guy Gardner.
He can take a hit.
Take a hit. He's just a great douchebag to be around. And of course, the original Hal Jordan. You can't go wrong there.
Who knocked out Superman?
Hal Jordan. And also Hal Jordan, interesting enough, was the Spectre briefly. He did that as a way to reform his ways after becoming Parallax, after his death. So we can't forget that when he was the Spectre.
That's true. Very good point.
And awesome costumes, by the way.
Awesome costumes.
And
just the fact that with the Green Lantern ring, your imagination is only limited. I'm sorry, your imagination is only limited by whatever you could think about. You know, it's just all about your will. You can just create anything with that ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love the little parallel, too, about will versus fear in Green Lantern. I mean, it seems very on the nose and cheesy, but when you read it, man, it really works.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Darren, you're the last.
Oh, yes. Of course, you're all wrong on your number ones. Barry Allen.
I can't even with you, Pete.
Supersonic, near light speed, of course. Dude can create sonic booms with a snap of his finger. He runs up buildings, which I don't want to say that's like a tremendous superpower,
Right.
but visually it's kind of fun.
You know who can run up buildings faster? Wally West.
Yeah, WW. He runs across oceans. It's just amazing. He can walk on water.
Jesus.
And I'll tell you what I really kind of deal. Yeah. What I really kind of like that gets forgotten a lot is he's a brilliant forensic scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could you be in Detective Comics and not be some form of a detective? And he debuted in Showcase Comics number 4.
Yes.
And the thing that I really think with Flash that people underappreciate is great villains. You know, I love Reverse Flash.
I would
me
say-
too. Me too. He is awesome.
Top three as far as villains is concerned. I mean, just they're quirky, they're silly, but they're fun.
Mirror Master.
Mirror Master, Captain Cold,
Captain Cold.
Heat Wave,
Yes.
Trickster.
the Trickster, the Top, Weather Wizard. You know, I mean, it can go on and on and on.
You know, and Gorilla Grodd, of course.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
I dig Gorilla Grodd. And, you know, also this is, for me, the first comic I read that really explored multiverses.
Yes.
And granted, you can get lost very easily when you're reading these things. It's like you feel like you're in a multiverse. But I think, once again, this is another origination of DC Comics. They really get this right. I mean, I've seen this, obviously, in many other comics. But for some reason, this resonates best with me, the multiverse. So, yeah, that's my number 1.
Excellent. That's a great choice. It's a great choice. It's not the best choice, but it's a great choice. It's not Wally West, but it's okay. You know, it's not Ted Kord, which is the number 1 DC hero of all times, but it's still okay. It's a good choice.
Ted Kord, is he related to Jaime Reyes?
You know, he could be
No.
secretly his father, and he wouldn't even know it.
Oh.
You know what? He does. He would be like, I'm your daddy, bitch. That kind of thing. I could see that.
I
definitely.
am Jaime. I open the scarab.
Hi, May. Hi, yeah. Hello. Hi, May. Yeah, no, not a fan. Yeah, so that's it, basically, guys. That is our top 10 DC Comics heroes. DC Comics villains will be coming right around the corner, so please stay tuned for that. Please follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on, just listen to the pod on iTunes as well. We are on there. And please, 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 if you get a chance, visit your local comic book shop. Pick up a couple comic books. It's always good to patronage the places that help further the history of these books and keep them alive. And also, while you're there, maybe we will see you
At the comic shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.